Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to Travel and Live Free. In this video, I'm going to share my experience traveling to my country number 98 to visit every single country in the world, and that country is Japan. The main reason I actually ended up going to Japan as early as I ended up going was because Alaska Airlines was going to nerf their program, so it's going to cost a lot more points to redeem it back in the late 2022. So I ended up redeeming those miles to do a flight going from Vancouver to Japan to Jakarta in Indonesia. And when you book your miles with Alaska Airlines, they allow you to have a stopover in the middle, so I ended up doing a 2-night, 3-day stopover in Tokyo just to go there, quickly check it out before heading to my next destination. Little did I know that I was gonna have such a good time in this country. I'm making this video right now actually in my hotel room in Tokyo. So because I redeemed my Alaska Airline miles, I started my journey by actually flying on business class with Japan Air, which actually turned out to be a decent experience. The Japanese food in the airplane was decent and the entertainment was decent, but I would say the main highlight of the flight was actually the excellent customer service done by the flight attendants. By the time I arrived in Tokyo, the immigration process wasn't too bad, and before long, I was outside the gate, and the first thing that I ended up doing was buying a SIM card. I ended up opting to buy a 5-day data-only SIM card just so I can use Google Maps as I navigate the city. The price of the SIM card was 2,500 yen, which at the time I'm going, which is November of 2023, 100 yen was worth $1 Canadian. After getting the SIM card, I also purchased a train ticket to go from the Narita airport all the way to Asakusa, which is the location in Tokyo that I was staying at. The cost of this train ticket was 1,370 yen. The train ride from Narita airport to Asakusa was very long. It took me over 1 hour and I was dead exhausted. Looking in hindsight, I should have flown to the Haneda airport, which is actually closer to the center of Tokyo. And instead of doing a 1-hour long journey to get to the center of the city, it would have been closer to 30 minutes. This hotel that I'm staying at right now is actually called Appa Hotels, which is a popular hotel chain in Japan. And this specific location is called Ekime. I did the booking through their website directly, which was cheaper than doing the booking through booking.com or if I did a booking through Agoda. Although the Agoda price wasn't too far off from what I paid. I ended up paying 19,700 yen for the 2 nights that I stayed, and that includes the breakfast because the breakfast is extra. I would say the breakfast is totally worth it because the next day after I woke up, I got a chance to eat breakfast, and it was kind of interesting because the breakfast that they had, it's kind of like what you would eat for lunch if you were to get a bento box when you are in North America, but that bento box is actually just breakfast for them. I noticed that the miso soup that they had in Japan tastes a lot different than what I would have in North America. They seem to have more stuff inside the miso soup, so it's not just limited to seaweed and green onions that you would normally have. And I also noticed that their food is not very oily and it's lighter compared to what you would eat in North America, which probably explains why so many people in Japan are so skinny compared to North America when there's more overweight people. It doesn't help that everyone here is walking everywhere, taking the metro, lots of stairs, so adding the steps plus a lighter meal equals not as much weight gain. After breakfast, my first destination was TeamLab, and it was actually quite a struggle to get there because I did not know how the metro system works. So I was a little bit confused for a bit before I ended up buying a metro ticket. And even that metro pass that I purchased, I don't think it was the right one because certain places wouldn't let me use it. Regardless, I was able to use this metro to get roughly halfway through TeamLab, which was the museum I was going to visit, and I ended up taking a bus to finish the rest of the trip. Even the bus trip itself was kind of interesting because I didn't know which bus to take, and luckily the local Japanese people working for this bus company were really helpful. They didn't speak any English, but using just body language, they were able to point out where I'm supposed to go. By the time I got to the TeamLab museum, the lineup was quite long. I ended up purchasing a ticket through the vending machine. It cost 3,800 yen, which is a little bit pricey for my taste. I think it should have been closer to 3,000 yen because the museum is relatively small compared to what you're paying for. I would still say it's a cool experience and I would definitely recommend to check it out. Going through the museum is also an interesting process because they get you to take off your shoes before you enter the museum, and there's a locker where you can place it in to safely store it. The first part of the exhibition is this uphill climb that you're walking with just your bare foot. And to be honest, I think the whole purpose of it is just to wash your feet so it's not filthy by the time you go to the next part of the exhibition. After going through the running water, you do end up going to this dark room with uneven terrain, followed by the first wow moment of the whole experience going through this exhibition, which is the light room. The light room is super awesome. They have like this flashy lights and it's very trippy as you're trying to navigate through the maze of what looks kind of like chandeliers but with lighting effect. I stayed there for quite a bit just admiring the lights before going to the next spot, which is another another light room with fishes that are floating from the surface. The fishes are actually not real. They're electronic fishes, but they look pretty cool and you can interact with them because if you get close to them, they actually fade away. After going to the fish room, the next place that I went to was the ballroom. This part is not that exciting. A lot of people were taking pictures there, so I just kind of breezed through it and I ended up going to the next place, which is this interactive ceiling with a lot of cool effects. I actually like this part. You sit down on the floor and you kind of just gaze up in the ceiling and you watch this interactive animation, and it made me really think about life. It was that cool of an experience. The next spot afterwards was the garden, and the garden itself was also neat. So basically you have all these different plants and flowers that's hanging from the ceiling and you're supposed to get up close and personal with them, and what they tell you is your goal is to be one with nature. So it was definitely cool. I enjoyed it, took some pictures there, made some videos. And before long, I exited this museum and went to my next destination, which is to visit a friend of mine who lives in Tokyo. Back in 2016, I went backpacking around the world for 1 year, and when I was in Namibia, I made a Japanese friend. His name is Ryukichi Tatsuki, and we actually ended up going to explore Dune 45, Sosavole, and Big Daddy Dune. We also ended up in a car crash, which is kind of morbid, but that was my experience when I met my friend. So I haven't seen him in 7 years, and I decided, hey, you know what? Since he lives in Tokyo, I'm gonna go visit. Decided to hit him up, and we ended up meeting up. For some people, not seeing someone for 7 years is weird, but for me, and I think it's just part of the travel culture, if you travel a lot and you make friends, it's not weird to just hit them up and see them again after several years of not seeing them. So he actually showed me his office. He works as an architect, and after giving me a brief tour of his office, we went to one of his favorite place to eat, which is this poke place. He said it's not poke, it's called something else in Japan, but it looks like poke because you get the raw fish and the rice and you eat it with miso soup. I actually forgot the name of the restaurant, which sucks because I can't recommend it to everyone. It's actually pretty good. So we just went there, got a chance to catch up, learn more about Japan, and just exchanging stories about family. After grabbing lunch, Ryu had to go back to work, so we said our farewells and I made my way to Shibuya to see the famous Scramble crossing. I hung out there for a bit, got a chance to see what the fuss is all about. I think it would be cooler to actually see it at night. I saw it during the day. And afterwards, I went to my next destination, which is a place called Katsushika City. And the reason why I went there was because I saw a YouTube documentary of this ramen place called Mingakoro Kunimoto, and unfortunately by the time I got there the place was closed, so I didn't get a chance to eat there, and I'll have to go back one day with my girlfriend Karen to share a meal there. At least I know what their operating hours are now. Basically they close during the afternoon and they're open for lunch and dinner, so I kind of messed up. I was dead tired by then, so I just ended up going to my hotel, bought some food, and called it a day. So my adventure in Japan will end with me flying out of the Narita airport to go to Jakarta, and I would say I really like my experience in Japan, and I would put Japan in my top 20 favorite countries of all time now, if not in my top 10, and I do want to go back one day and properly explore it. I would like to go to Kyoto, go to southern Japan, and maybe even rent a car to do a road trip because I love road trips. Anyways, that's about it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.